Alright, so today I'm going to be showing you how you can improve your sports betting using Grok AI. I did make a video in the past on how you can do this with ChatGPT, and it did pretty well. It was a pretty good video, but we've actually improved the way that we can do this, and to be honest, Grok is much better than ChatGPT at doing this specifically. When it comes to sports betting, I don't prefer any other AI model than Grok right now, mainly because it doesn't teeter on this, censorship line that I find ChatGPT does. Grok is a lot more, I don't know how to put it into words, but it just doesn't try to censor things in the same way and avoid questions in the same way. When you approach it with, betting questions and statistics and analytics, it is really good, especially when you're using expert mode. Now, we're working with Grok, which is the standard paid version that comes with a Twitter membership, or an X membership rather. And so I'll just show you the prompt that we use to start it off and then what you can do afterward. So we start off with this prompt. Now, this is a prompt that we use for most things. I recommend this almost all the time. This is just a way to make your AI chat agent or whatever more independent and not as automatically a yes man, if that makes sense. So you can go and read it if you like. It just basically states, act as my independent, no nonsense strategy advisor and reality check. Do not comfort me, compliment me. It just basically turns it into a non-agreeable agent. And by doing this, it just makes sure that it'll take analytics first and not try to use our feelings in this situation. So no specific situation, decision, assumption, or goal was provided. State the concrete thing you want evaluated, the claim, the plan, etc. So the whole purpose of this first prompt, which you guys can get from the description of the video or the pinned comment, is just to make either ChatGPT or Grok in this case, less agreeable, more direct, and to actually help us with whatever strategy or plan we're doing. Now, this can be applied to anything, but now I'll show you exactly how I would do it for sports betting. But this is really the crux of it, the most important thing in terms of making Grok actually improve and be better with the sports betting thing, because otherwise it might be a little agreeable and go off of your own assumptions. So now we're going to do this. After we do that, we basically tell it, you will also be my sports betting strategist for parlays and DFS. Now, you can say this for whatever you want at this point, depending on if you want to do some specific type of sports betting. Try to be as specific as possible. I include DFS because that's also for like DraftKings and stuff like that, but it's up to you if you want to be doing that. And I'm trying to show you how I will do like an actual parlay. So then I say, I am trying to make bets for the World Cup final between Argentina and Spain. What are the statistical best bets to make that will likely have a higher multiplier than usual? Take into account all important metrics, including active rosters, injuries, weather, positional matchups, and everything else you believe is relevant. Now, this is the most important part here. Whenever you're telling it that you want it to be a strategist for us, it's important to include what metrics you want it to pay attention to, and it'll actually take those into account. So I'm going to go ahead and click enter, and hopefully it'll help us build a parlay. All right, so it goes ahead and tells us a breakdown of the matchup itself. So it gives us Spain is the clearer side on process. Argentina is the more fragile one, relying on moments. That is the baseline. Everything else is secondary. Gives us a matchup reality, and then the highest leverage edges. So we get statistical priority. So Spain's defensive dominance plus finals caution and heat, low total goals. So betting on the under. Then Spain control of the ball, etc., and giving us a breakdown of what it believes would be the statistically best bets given the circumstances, and which ones would likely be higher multipliers given the circumstances as well. Recommended structure for higher multipliers. It tells us what we can do. The DFS angle, if available. Prioritize Spain's possession and clean sheet potential. High floor on Spanish goalkeeper defenders for clean sheet. So it gives us a strategy. You can also tell it, if you were doing DFS, that you want it to be a lineup builder. But once again, the most important point is using that prompt at the beginning to make sure that it is not agreeable, and then basically prompting it to be the strategist, including every statistical edge that we needed to cover. So I basically tell it to take its own freedom in this, in saying, for instance, all important metrics, including all the ones that I found important, and then basically everything else you believe is relevant. By saying that, it'll actually look into things that may or may not be relevant and then use it in its analysis. But if there's other things that you specifically want, let's say something really in DraftKings, for instance, you want a low-owned player, or you want to make sure that you have leverage against the field or something along those lines, you can have it do that as well by simply telling it. Then you can say, can you make me a proxy parlay ticket? And then basically it'll create one that it believes would be the best one for us for this matchup. So I asked it to do that initially to create us a parlay ticket. It created us a bunch of different ones. Now I wasn't specific, so now I said 5 legs, and then it actually created us a 5-leg ticket that we can utilize as a proxy, because I didn't give it any actual details of what site I'm using, what the odds are, etc. It just basically gave us a proxy one to use. So Spain to lift the cup, under 2.5 goals, both teams to score, no, halftime draw, and a anytime goal scorer for their striker. So as you see, and then it actually gives us a reality check, which we have because of the prompt. So 5 legs compounds risk significantly even when correlated. 1 early Argentina goal, etc. So what I would do now, because I'm happy with the reality check stuff, I would say, please don't remind me of risk. I'm aware. Never remind me. That way, we don't have to deal with this all the time, because this is the only annoying thing that would happen with Grok, is it takes it quite literally. With ChatGPT, it's way worse, in my opinion. It'll constantly be trying to like guilt you into what you're doing for whatever reason, and it'll oftentimes, especially lately, ChatGPT as opposed to this is quite awful. Grok is so much better with this because it kind of comes up with its own opinions and gives us ideas on what we can or should bet. And it'll, once you use the prompt that I mentioned at the beginning, it'll be kind of harsh on you in the proper way to make you make the proper bets. While ChatGPT, especially when I was doing DraftKings, it'll oftentimes look at my lineups, and if I ask it to help me create another lineup or to analyze certain things, it always goes off of my thesis and premise as opposed to making its own. It'll almost never come up with stuff on its own, even when I'm requesting it. It uses like whatever I mentioned as an anchor, which is really irritating and pretty useless when you're trying to get, analytics and data from an AI agent. Anyway, so that's about it. It's that simple. By simply using this prompt at the beginning here, you basically turn Grok or ChatGPT into a less agreeable, more direct form, and it is your, strategist for whatever task you're doing. Then you basically tell it what you're doing in terms of sports and betting, and by explaining that, it'll eventually, once you, include exactly what you want it to take into account for analytics, or telling it to take what it believes is important in account for analytics, then you have your own personal assistant to come up with bets or DFS lineups on a whim. So hopefully you guys found this video helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe, and have a nice day.